The alarm bells rang through the corridors of the human research ship Aurora's Edge. Captain Jake Morrison rushed to the bridge, his boots making quick sounds on the metal floor. The red lights flashed as his crew worked at their stations. "What do we have, Amy?" Jake asked the communications officer. Amy Rodriguez looked up from her console, her face serious. "We picked up a distress signal about 20 minutes ago. It's coming from an unknown ship drifting near the asteroid field." Jake studied the main screen. A strange vessel floated in space, its hull cracked and smoking. The ship looked nothing like any human design he had ever seen. Its surface was smooth and curved, made of some kind of silver metal that seemed to glow with its own light. "Any response to our calls?" Jake asked. "Nothing, Captain, but the ship is still giving off power readings. Someone might be alive in there." Dr. Alex Turner, the ship's xenobiologist, stepped forward. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. "Captain, if this is what I think it is, we might be looking at our first contact with an alien species." Jake nodded slowly. The human race had been exploring space for decades, but they had never found intelligent life. This could change everything. "Lisa, what's the status of their ship?" Jake called to the engineer. Lisa Kane looked at her readings. She was young and smart, always ready to solve any problem. "Their main power is failing. Life support looks weak. If someone is alive in there, they don't have much time." Jake made his decision quickly. "Prepare a rescue team. Alex, Lisa, you're with me. Amy, keep trying to contact them." The three humans put on their spacesuits and took a small shuttle to the alien ship. As they got closer, Jake could see the damage was worse than it looked from far away. Something had hit the ship hard, leaving deep cuts in its hull. "There," Lisa pointed to an opening. "We can get in through that breach." They flew their shuttle close to the hole and carefully moved. Inside, the alien ship was dark except for small lights that glowed along the walls. The air felt thick and warm. "Life support is still working," Alex said, checking his instruments. "The air is safe to breathe." They took off their helmets and walked deeper into the ship. Everything around them was beautiful and strange. The walls curved in smooth lines and the floor felt soft under their feet. It was clear that whoever built this ship was far more advanced than humans. "Over here," Lisa called. She had found what looked like a control room. In the center of the room, lying on the floor, was their first alien. Jake's heart beat faster as he looked at her. She looked almost human, but different in important ways. Her skin was pale blue, and her hair was white like snow. She was tall and thin, wearing clothes made of the same silver material as the ship. Her eyes were closed, and there was blue blood on her forehead. "She's hurt," Alex said, kneeling beside her. "But she's breathing." The alien's eyes opened suddenly. They were large and bright purple, unlike anything Jake had ever seen. She looked at the three humans with surprise and then anger. "Stay away from me," she said in perfect English, which shocked them all. Her voice was clear and musical, but cold. "We're here to help," Jake said, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "Your ship sent out a distress signal." The alien tried to sit up, but winced in pain. "I don't need help from primitives like you. Your crude technology can't fix. What's wrong here?" Alex stepped forward carefully. "You're bleeding. Let me look at that wound." "Don't touch me," she snapped, but when she tried to stand, she fell back down. Jake could see she was proud and angry, but also scared and hurt. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She stared at him for a long moment. "I am Zara of the Viridian Empire, and you are trespassing on Imperial property." "The Viridian Empire," Alex repeated. "We've never heard of it." Zara laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Of course you haven't. Your people probably still use chemical rockets and think faster than light travel is impossible." Lisa looked around the damaged ship. "If your technology is so great, why couldn't you fix this yourself?" Zara's face turned red with anger. "The damage was caused by space pirates using illegal weapons. Even our advanced systems can't fix everything." "Then let us try," Jake said. "We might not be as advanced as you, but we're good at fixing things." "Why? Would you help me?" Zara asked, confusion replacing some of her anger. I've told you that humans are primitive. I've been nothing but rude to you. What do you gain from this? Jake was quiet for a moment. Because you need help, and we can give it. That's enough. Alex was already checking her injuries with his medical scanner. She has a concussion and some internal bleeding, but nothing too serious. I can treat this back on our ship. I won't go with you, Zara said, but her voice was weaker now. Your ship is dying, Lisa said, looking at the failing lights around them. The power core will fail completely in a few hours. You'll die if you stay here. Zara looked around her beautiful ship, then back at the humans. Jake could see the struggle in her purple eyes. Her pride was fighting against her survival instincts. Your kindness is inefficient, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Maybe, Jake said with a small smile. But it's who we are. An hour later, they had moved Zara to the medical bay on the Aurora's edge. Alex worked on her injuries while she lay on the bed, still refusing to thank them. But Jake noticed she watched everything they did with curious eyes. Your medical equipment is so basic, she said, but her voice didn't have the same mean tone as before. It works, Alex said simply, cleaning her wound with gentle hands. As Jake left the medical bay, he wondered what they had gotten themselves into. This alien woman clearly thought humans were beneath her, but something in her eyes told him there was more to her story. He had a feeling their meeting was going to change both their peoples in ways none of them could imagine. Outside the window, stars shone in the endless darkness of space, keeping their secrets as they had for billions of years. 3 days had passed since they brought Zara aboard the Aurora's edge. The alien woman was healing well, but she spent most of her time alone in the guest quarters they had given her. Jake could see through the security cameras that she was always watching, always studying the humans around her. Dr. Alex Turner had removed the bandages from her head that morning. The blue blood had stopped flowing, and her pale skin was returning to its normal color. But Zara still acted like she was better than everyone around her. Your food is terrible, she told Amy Rodriguez when the communications officer brought her breakfast. On my world, we have meals that are perfectly balanced for nutrition and taste. Amy just smiled. Sorry about that. I can ask the cook to make something different if you want. Zara looked surprised by the offer. Why would you do that? I'm just a prisoner here. You're not a prisoner, Amy said. You're our guest. There's a difference. After Amy left, Zara sat on her bed, thinking about those words. On her homeworld, of Viridian Prime, prisoners and guests were treated almost the same way. Both were expected to follow orders and not cause trouble. But these humans seemed to actually care about her comfort. Later that day, Zara decided to explore the ship. No one stopped her or asked where she was going. The security guards just nodded when she passed them in the hallways. This confused her even more. On Viridian ships, outsiders were always watched closely. She found herself in the engine room, where Ben Clark was working on some kind of repair. The mechanic was covered in oil and sweat, using tools that looked ancient compared to Viridian technology. That's not how you fix a plasma conduit, Zara said, watching him work. Ben looked up and smiled. Maybe not where you're from, but this old girl has been running for 15 years with fixes like this. It's inefficient, Zara said. Your whole system could fail. Could, Ben agreed, going back to his work. But it won't. Sometimes the simple way is the best way. Zara watched him for an hour, expecting the repair to fail. But Ben's crude methods worked perfectly. The engine hummed with smooth power when he was done. This bothered Zara more than she wanted to admit. According to everything she had learned, such simple repairs shouldn't work. That evening, an alarm suddenly rang through the ship. Zara heard people running in the hallways and followed the sound to the main engineering section. A crowd had gathered around someone lying on the floor. What happened? Captain Jake asked as he arrived. Power surge in the reactor room, Lisa Kane said, her face pale. Sam was checking the systems when it hit. He's badly hurt. Dr. Sam Hayes lay unconscious on the floor, his body burned by electrical energy. Zara could see that his injuries were serious. On her world, they would probably write him off as too damaged to save. But Alex Turner was already working on him, using equipment that Zara thought was too basic to help. "I need to operate now," Alex said. "His internal organs are damaged." "The medical bay isn't set up for surgery this complex," Lisa said. "Then we'll set it up," Jake said firmly. "Everyone, let's move. Ben, I need you to modify the medical equipment. Amy, clear the medical bay. Lisa, help Alex with whatever he needs." Zara watched as the entire crew dropped what they were doing to help save one man. They worked together without anyone giving orders, each person knowing exactly what to do. Ben used his simple tools to upgrade the medical equipment in ways that shouldn't have been possible. Lisa solved power problems by connecting systems that weren't designed to work together. "This is madness," Zara said to herself. "They're risking the entire ship's systems for one person." But somehow it worked. Alex managed to save Sam's life using equipment that had been rebuilt with spare parts and hope. When Sam opened his eyes 12 hours later, the whole crew cheered like they had won a great victory. Zara found herself alone with Jake in the observation deck later that night. Through the window, stars moved slowly past as the ship traveled through space. "Why did you do that?" she asked. "Risk everything for one person?" Jake looked tired but happy. "Because Sam is part of our crew. We don't leave people behind." "But the logical choice would have been to let him die," Zara said. "You could have replaced him at the next station." Jake turned to look at her, and she saw something in his eyes that she had never seen before. It wasn't anger or judgment, it was sadness. "Is that what your people would have done?" he asked quietly. Zara thought about her homeworld, where efficiency was the most important thing, where people were valued only for what they could do, not for who they were, where the weak were left behind so the strong could move forward. "Yes," she said, her voice small. "That's exactly what we would have done." "Then I'm sorry for your people," Jake said, "because they're missing something important." "What's that?" "The point," Jake said simply. Zara watched him leave, feeling confused and upset. Everything she had been taught told her that humans were primitive and weak, but she had seen them do impossible things today. They had saved a life using tools that shouldn't have worked, powered by something her people had forgotten. She spent the rest of the night trying to contact her homeworld, using the communication system Amy had showed her how to use. When she finally reached the Viridian Empire, the response shocked her. "Agent Zara was reported as lost during the pirate attack," the cold voice said. "Her mission has been assigned to another operative. The Empire does not waste resources on the dead." The communication ended, leaving Zara alone in the darkness. Her own people had written her off without even looking for her. They had moved on as if she had never existed. A soft knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Captain Jake, holding a cup of something hot. "Amy thought you might like some tea," he said. "It's not much, but it helps when you can't sleep." "My people have abandoned me," Zara said, taking the cup. The warmth felt good in her hands. "Then you're welcome to stay with us as long as you need," Jake said. No questions asked. After he left, Zara sat holding the cup of tea and thinking about everything she had seen. These humans with their primitive technology and inefficient ways had done something her advanced people couldn't do. They had made her feel like she mattered. For the first time in her life, Zara began to wonder if maybe being advanced wasn't the same thing as being better. A week had passed since Zara learned her people had given up on her. She found herself spending more time with the human crew, watching how they worked and lived together. At first, she told herself it was just to study their primitive ways. But slowly she began to realize she actually enjoyed their company. "You're doing it wrong," Zara said to Pete Collins as he worked on fixing a broken water recycler in the lower deck. Pete looked up from his tools and grinned. "Probably. Want to show me the right way?" Zara had expected him to be angry at her criticism. On her homeworld, questioning someone's methods was seen as an insult, but Pete seemed genuinely interested in learning from her. "Your people don't use quantum resonance fields for molecular separation?" she asked. "We don't even know what that means," Pete laughed. "We just use filters and pressure pumps." Zara knelt down beside him to look at the machinery. It was incredibly simple compared to Viridian technology, but she could see that it was also clever in its own way. The design used basic physics in ways that were efficient and easy to repair. "Show me how it works," she said. For the next hour, Pete explained the human system while Zara shared some Viridian techniques. Together, they came up with a solution that combined both approaches. The recycler worked better than it had in months. "Not bad for a primitive and an alien," Pete said, wiping oil from his hands. Zara found herself smiling, which surprised her. "I suppose we make an adequate team." That afternoon, alarms started ringing again. But this time it wasn't an accident. 3 pirate ships had appeared on the long-range sensors, moving fast toward the Aurora's edge. "Battle stations," Captain Jake announced over the ship's communication system. "All crew to emergency positions." Zara followed the crew to the bridge, where everyone was working quickly to prepare for the attack. The main screen showed the 3 enemy ships getting closer. Each one was larger and better armed than the Aurora's edge. "They're demanding we surrender," Amy reported from her communications station. "Not happening," Jake said firmly. "Lucy, what are our options?" Navigator Lucy Chen studied the tactical display, her fingers flying over the controls. "They have us outgunned 3-1. Standard tactics say we should run." "Can we outrun them?" Jake asked. "No, Captain. Their ships are faster than ours." Zara watched the humans work together, expecting them to panic or give up. On her world, facing such odds would mean certain defeat. The Viridian military relied on having superior weapons and technology. When they didn't have those advantages, they usually retreated, but these humans were different. They didn't seem afraid even though they were clearly outmatched. "What if we don't use standard tactics?" Lucy said suddenly. "The asteroid field we passed yesterday, it's only a few hours away." "That field is too dangerous to navigate," Lisa said from her engineering station. "The asteroids move too fast and there are too many of them." "Dangerous for them too," Lucy said with a growing smile. "But we've been mapping asteroid fields for years. They probably haven't." Jake thought for a moment. "Explain your plan." Lucy brought up a 3D map of the asteroid field. "We lead them in here where their larger ships will have trouble moving around. Then we use the asteroids as cover while we hit them with everything we have." "That's crazy," Ben said from his station. "One wrong move and we'll be smashed to pieces." "Do you have a better idea?" Jake asked. Nobody did. Zara watched in amazement as the humans put Lucy's impossible plan into action. They flew straight toward the dangerous asteroid field, with the 3 pirate ships following close behind. As they entered the field, huge rocks spun around them at deadly speeds. "Shields up," Jake ordered. "And everyone hold on." The Aurora's edge twisted and turned between the asteroids like a dancer. Lucy's navigation was perfect, taking them through spaces that seemed too small for the ship to fit. Behind them, the larger pirate ship struggled to keep up. "First pirate ship is having trouble," Amy reported. "They're falling behind." "They're not used to this kind of flying," Lucy said, making another impossible turn around a spinning rock. "Their computers are probably telling them it's too dangerous." "It is too dangerous," Ben muttered, but he was smiling. The plan worked perfectly. The pirate ships were too big and too slow for the asteroid field. One of them hit a rock and had to retreat with damage. The other 2 kept following, but they couldn't get close enough to use their weapons effectively. Then Lucy did something that Zara thought was completely insane. She flew the Aurora's edge straight at the largest asteroid in the field. "Lucy, what are you doing?" Jake asked. "Trust me, Captain." At the last second, Lucy spun the ship around the asteroid using its gravity to slingshot them back toward the pirates. The maneuver brought them right behind one of the enemy ships. "Fire all weapons," Jake ordered. The Aurora's edge wasn't heavily armed, but they were so close that every shot hit its target. The pirate ship was badly damaged and had to withdraw. The last enemy vessel decided to retreat rather than face the crazy humans alone. "Target is leaving the area," Amy reported. "We're clear." The bridge crew cheered, but Zara just stared in shock. She had watched humans defeat a superior enemy using tactics that no computer would ever suggest. They had turned their weaknesses into strengths and used the environment as a weapon. "How did you know that would work?" she asked Lucy. Lucy shrugged. I didn't. But sometimes you have to try something new. That evening, Zara found herself in the crew's dining area, sharing a meal with her new friends. It was the first time she had eaten with others in years. On her homeworld, meals were usually taken alone while reading reports or studying data. Tell us about your world, Amy asked. What's it like there? Zara thought about how to explain Viridian Prime. Everything is perfect, she said slowly. Our cities are beautiful and clean. Our technology can do anything. Disease and poverty don't exist. Sounds wonderful, Pete said. It is, Zara said. But her voice didn't sound convinced. Everyone has a job to do and they do it well. There's no waste, no inefficiency. What about fun? Ben asked. What do you do when you're not working? Zara looked confused. Fun? You know, things you enjoy. Hobbies, games, hanging out with friends. We don't have friends, Zara said. We have colleagues and associates. Personal relationships are seen as distractions from our duties. The humans looked at each other with sad expressions. Zara realized that what she had always thought was perfect now sounded empty and cold. What about family? Lisa asked gently. Children are raised by the state, Zara explained. It's more efficient than having parents do it. Everyone gets the same education and training. That's horrible, Amy whispered. Zara felt defensive. It works perfectly. Everyone knows their place and their purpose. But what's your purpose? Jake asked. What makes you happy? Zara opened her mouth to answer, then closed it again. She had always been told that her purpose was to serve the Empire, to be as efficient and logical as possible. But sitting here with these humans, she couldn't remember the last time she had felt truly happy. I don't know, she admitted quietly. Pete reached over and patted her shoulder gently. That's okay. We'll help you figure it out. For the first time in her life, Zara felt tears in her eyes. But they weren't sad tears. They were something else entirely. Something warm and hopeful that she had never experienced before. Later that night, as she lay in her bed thinking about the day's events, Zara realized something important had changed. When she thought about the humans now, the word primitive didn't come to mind anymore. Instead, she found herself thinking brave and kind and clever. Maybe, she thought as she drifted off to sleep, there were different ways to be advanced. 2 weeks later, Zara had become a real part of the Aurora's Edge crew. She worked with Pete in engineering, helped Amy with communications, and even learned to cook human food from the ship's chef. For the first time in her life, she felt like she belonged somewhere. But that feeling was about to be shattered. Captain, Amy called from her station, her voice tight with worry. I'm picking up multiple ships approaching our position. The signatures look familiar. Zara felt her blood turn cold. She knew those energy patterns. Those are Viridian Imperial fleet vessels, she said quietly. Jake turned to look at her. Your people? A full battle group, Zara said, reading the sensor data. 3 heavy cruisers and 6 escort ships. They're not here for a friendly visit. On the main screen, the sleek silver ships of the Viridian Empire appeared, their weapons already charging. The lead ship was huge, easily 10 times the size of the Aurora's Edge. Zara recognized it immediately. That's the Imperial Fist, she whispered. Admiral Kovac's flagship. Incoming transmission, Amy reported. The screen changed to show a tall, stern-faced Viridian male in an elaborate uniform. His pale blue skin was marked with the scars of old battles, and his purple eyes were cold as ice. I am Admiral Kovac of the Viridian Imperial Fleet, the alien said. You are harboring stolen Imperial property. Surrender Agent Zara immediately, and your ship will be allowed to leave. Agent Zara is our guest, Jake replied calmly. She's free to leave if she chooses, but we won't force her to go. Kovac's expression didn't change. Humans do not negotiate with the Viridian Empire. You will comply or be destroyed. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Zara stared at the screen, knowing there was more to this than Kovac had said. She had worked with him before, and he never did. Anything simple when something complex would work better. Captain, she said urgently, I need to speak with you privately." In Jake's ready room, Zara paced back and forth like a caged animal. Her purple eyes were filled with fear and anger. "They're not here just for me," she said. "Kovac has been looking for an excuse to study human technology. If he takes your ship, he'll learn everything about your people. Then he'll decide humans are a threat and move to eliminate your entire species." Jake sat back in his chair thinking, what would happen if you went back with them? "They'd probably execute me for spending time with primitives," Zara said bitterly. "Or worse, they'd put me in a reconditioning center to fix my thinking." "That's not going to happen," Jake said firmly. "You're part of this crew now." Zara stopped pacing and stared at him. "You don't understand. They have 9 ships. You have 1. This isn't a fight you can win." "Maybe not," Jake agreed. "But we're not going to hand you over to people who want to hurt you, even if it means your ship and crew will be destroyed." Jake was quiet for a long moment. Even then, Zara felt tears running down her face. No one had ever been willing to sacrifice themselves for her before. On her homeworld, such loyalty was seen as a weakness. "I have an idea," she said slowly. "But you're not going to like it." Back on the bridge, another transmission came from the Viridian fleet. This time it was Kovac himself, not just his image. "You have 1 hour to surrender the traitor," he said. "After that, we will take your ship by force and examine your primitive technology. Your crew will be disposed of as witnesses." "Friendly guy," Ben muttered from his station. "Admiral," Zara said, stepping into view of the camera, "I invoke the right of choice under Imperial law. I choose to remain with these humans." Kovac's face showed surprise for the first time. "You cannot choose to stay with primitives, Zara. You are a citizen of the Empire." "I was a citizen," Zara said, her voice growing stronger. "But you declared me dead when my ship was damaged. According to our own laws, I am now free to choose my own path." "Clever," Kovac admitted, "but meaningless. Dead or alive, you possess Imperial secrets. You will return with us." "What secrets?" Zara asked with a smile. "You mean the ones about how our perfect technology failed to save me, how these primitive humans rescued me with their basic equipment, how they showed me kindness when my own people abandoned me." She could see Kovac getting angry, which was exactly what she wanted. "These humans have already learned everything. I know," she continued. "They've seen our ships, our weapons, our technology. If you destroy them now, you'll just prove that the mighty Viridian Empire is afraid of a single human research vessel." Jake watched Zara with admiration. She was using her knowledge of Viridian psychology to turn the situation around. Instead of looking weak, the humans now looked like a threat that the Empire was too scared to face in fair combat. "Enough games," Kovac snarled. "Prepare to be boarded." "Wait," Zara said quickly. "I have a better idea. You want to prove humans are primitive? Let's test that theory." She looked at Jake, hoping he would understand her plan. "Captain Morrison, I challenge Admiral Kovac to single combat. If he wins, I'll return to the Empire willingly. If you win, the Imperial fleet leaves human space and never returns." The bridge crew looked shocked. Even by human standards, this was a crazy idea. "Zara," Jake said quietly, "I can't ask you to—" "You're not asking," she interrupted. "I'm volunteering. These people gave me a new life, now it's my turn to protect them." Kovac laughed coldly from the screen. "A human fighting a Viridian? This should be amusing. Very well, I accept. We'll settle this the old way." An hour later, Jake and Kovac faced each other in the Aurora's Edge cargo bay. Both fleets watched, through their sensors as the two leaders prepared to fight. Kovac was taller and stronger than Jake, with the enhanced muscles that all Viridian military officers received. "This is foolish, human," Kovac said as they circled each other. "Your primitive body cannot match Viridian enhancement." "Maybe," Jake replied. "But let's find out." The fight was brutal and quick. Kovac was faster and stronger, just as he had said, but Jake was smarter. He used the cargo bay's equipment against his opponent, turning the environment into a weapon, just like Lucy had done with the asteroids. When Kovac charged at him with overwhelming force, Jake dodged at the last second. The Viridian Admiral crashed into a steel support beam and fell to the floor unconscious. "It's over," Jake said, breathing hard. Zara helped him to his feet, her face glowing with pride and happiness. Around them, the human crew cheered while the Viridian fleet watched in shocked silence. "By the laws of combat, the human has won," came a voice from Kovac's own ship. The Admiral's second-in-command acknowledges the victory. On the main screen, a younger Viridian officer appeared. "The Imperial fleet will honor the terms of combat. We will leave your space immediately." As the Viridian ships turned away, Zara found herself alone with Jake in the observation deck. Through the window, they watched the Silver Fleet disappear into the stars. "What more do you want, human?" she asked with a smile, repeating the words that had started as an insult but now felt like a celebration. "You've already given me everything that matters." Jake smiled back. "What do you mean?" "A home," she said simply. "A family. A purpose, worth fighting for. On my world, we thought advancement meant having better technology and more power, but you taught me that real advancement means having something worth protecting." "And what's that?" Jake asked. Zara looked around at the ship that had become her home, thinking of the friends who had risked everything for her. "Each other," she said. 6 months had passed since the confrontation with the Viridian fleet. The Aurora's Edge had become famous throughout human space as the ship that had faced down an alien empire and won. But for Zara, the real victory was much more personal. She stood in the new communications center that the crew had built with her help, working alongside Amy to establish the first permanent link between human and Viridian space. The project had taken months of careful work, combining human creativity with Viridian technology. "Signal is strong and clear," Amy reported, checking her instruments. "We're ready for the first official transmission." Through the window, Zara could see the construction of humanity's first joint research station. The building looked like nothing either species had made before, a blend of human practicality and Viridian elegance that was somehow more beautiful than either style alone. "Nervous?" Jake asked, joining them at the communication station. "A little," Zara admitted. "This is either going to change everything or start a war." 3 months earlier, a small group of Viridian scientists had made contact with the Aurora's Edge. They had heard rumors about the human ship that had befriended one of their people, and they were curious. Unlike the military, these scientists were more interested in learning than conquering. The first meeting had been tense. The Viridian scientists expected to find Zara being held prisoner or being forced to work for the humans. Instead, they found her laughing with Pete as they fixed a broken water recycler, using a combination of human tools and Viridian knowledge. "She seems different," Dr. Thane, the lead Viridian scientist, had said to Jake privately. "More alive somehow." "That's what friendship does," Jake had replied. "It changes people for the better." Now, as they prepared for the first formal, cultural exchange between their species, Zara reflected on how much she had changed. The cold, arrogant alien who had crashed into human space was gone. In her place was someone who laughed at Pete's jokes, helped Amy with her reports, and felt proud to be part of the Aurora's Edge crew. "Incoming transmission from the Viridian Science Council," Amy announced. The main screen showed a group of pale blue aliens in simple robes rather than military uniforms. At their head was Dr. Thane, whose purple eyes held the same curiosity that Zara remembered from her own childhood. "Greetings, Aurora's Edge," Dr. Thane said formally. "The Science Council is prepared to begin the cultural exchange program." "Welcome to the research station," Jake replied. "We're looking forward to working together." Karen White, the human diplomat who had arrived the previous week, stepped forward. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, who reminded Zara of her favorite teacher from long ago. "Dr. Thane, we've prepared quarters for your team and set up laboratories where our scientists can work together," Karen said. "Agent Zara has been invaluable in helping us understand Viridian needs and customs." "Agent Zara," Dr. Thane said, looking directly at her. "The Council is curious about your experiences with humans. Our reports say you have chosen to remain with them permanently." Zara took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been preparing for. That's correct, Dr. Thane. I am now a citizen of the Human Federation and a permanent crew member of the Aurora's Edge. But why? Asked another Viridian scientist. Our technology is superior. Our society is more advanced. What could these primitives offer that the Empire cannot? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Zara looked around at her human friends, all of whom were waiting to hear her answer. They offered me something the Empire never could, she said finally. They offered me a choice. She walked to the center of the room, addressing both groups equally. On Viridian Prime, every aspect of my life was planned for maximum efficiency. I was told what to study, what job to take, where to live, even what to think. I was successful, but I was never happy. Happiness is inefficient, the Viridian scientist said. It leads to poor decision-making. Does it? Zara asked. Let me tell you what I've learned about happiness. Happy people work harder because they care about what they're doing. Happy people solve problems better because they're not afraid to try new ideas. Happy people take care of each other, which makes the whole group stronger. She gestured to the construction outside. Look at this station we're building together. Neither humans nor Viridians could have made it alone. But by combining our different approaches, we've created something better than either of us imagined. Dr. Thane looked thoughtful. You're suggesting that our pursuit of perfection has made us imperfect? I'm suggesting that perfection isn't the goal, Zara said. Growth is, learning is. Becoming better than you were yesterday, not because someone ordered you to, but because you want to help the people you care about. Over the following weeks, the cultural exchange program began in earnest. Human and Viridian scientists worked side by side, sharing knowledge and techniques. At first, the Viridians were frustrated by human methods that seemed chaotic and inefficient. But slowly, they began to see the benefits. Dr. Lisa Kane worked with a Viridian physicist named Vel to design new propulsion systems. Lisa's willingness to try wild ideas combined with Vel's precise calculations led to breakthroughs that neither could have achieved alone. Ben Collins taught Viridian engineers about improvisation and creative problem-solving. Sometimes the best tool is the one you make yourself, he said, showing them how to modify equipment for unexpected purposes. In return, the Viridians taught humans about advanced materials and energy systems, but more importantly, they began to learn about concepts they had forgotten: friendship, laughter, and the joy of discovery for its own sake. The breakthrough came when Dr. Thane approached Zara with an unusual request. My daughter is graduating from the Science Academy next month, he said quietly. I was wondering, would you be willing to speak to her class about your experiences? Zara was shocked. Personal family relationships were discouraged in Viridian society. The fact that Dr. Thane was asking her to influence his daughter's education showed how much things were changing. What would you want me to tell them? She asked. The truth, Dr. Thane said. About what you've learned here. About what it means to choose your own path. A month later, Zara found herself standing before a group of young Viridian students via video link. Their purple eyes watched her, with the same curiosity she remembered from her own youth, before the Empire had taught her to value efficiency over wonder. What questions do you have about humans? She asked them. A young female raised her hand. Are they really as primitive as we've been taught? Zara smiled. That depends on how you define primitive. Their technology is simpler than ours, but their society is more advanced in ways that matter. They've learned how to be happy while still accomplishing great things. But how do they make decisions without central planning? Another student asked. They talk to each other, Zara said. They share ideas, they argue, they compromise. It's messy and loud and sometimes inefficient, but it leads to solutions that no one person could have thought of alone. What's the most important thing you've learned from them? The first student asked. Zara thought about everything that had happened since that first day when Jake and his crew had rescued her from her damaged ship. She thought about the kindness they had shown her, the trust they had given her, and the friendship they had offered freely. I learned that being perfect isn't as important as being connected, she said finally. The humans taught me that we're stronger together than we could ever be alone. As the transmission ended, Zara looked around the research station that had become a symbol of cooperation between their species. Through the windows, she could see human and Viridian children playing together in the station's park, creating games that neither species had imagined before. Jake appeared beside her, as he so often did when she was deep in thought. "Any regrets?" he asked. Zara considered the question seriously. She thought about the life she had left behind on Viridian Prime, the perfect efficiency, the advanced technology, the certainty of always knowing exactly what was expected of her. Then she thought about her new life, the laughter in the ship's dining room, the satisfaction of solving problems with friends, the warmth of being part of something bigger than herself. "What more do you want, human?" she asked with the smile that had become her trademark question. "What do you mean?" Jake asked, though he was smiling too. "You've already given me everything that matters," she said, repeating the words that had become their private joke. Chance to choose. A place to belong. People who care about me not because of what I can do for them, but because of who I am." She looked out at the stars, where both human and Viridian ships now traveled together on missions of exploration and discovery. "You taught me that the most advanced thing any species can do is help each other become more than they thought possible," she continued. "That's worth more than all the perfect technology in the galaxy." Jake nodded, understanding. "And you taught us that being human isn't about what planet you're born on. It's about the choices you make and the people you choose to make them with." Together they watched as the research station bustled with activity. Scientists from both species worked. Side by side, children from different worlds played together, and the future stretched out before them full of